Hello everyone, welcome to This Day. It is Saturday, October 8th. Now on our show today, we have our garden center tour with myself, along with Christy Sakel, and we tour Garden Center 1, and we give you an idea of what it's all about. And then we talk to Rabbi Joe Mendelson, who's the Reform Temple of Laguna Woods, and he's got some exciting news to share with all of you, and hope that you will attend the celebration with them. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our weather. Where our local weather is looking very nice. We are looking at nice temperatures for the weekend. 80, 65, 80, 65, and then 79, 64. So our temperatures look pretty good. Pleasant, nice, and mostly sunny. So good weekend. Now, if you're traveling, beaches look just as nice. We are looking at 73, 66, 74, 67, Santa Barbara 73, 60, Palm Springs 94, 73, Tahoe 73, 40, Big Bear 67, 38, Mammoth 70, 35, and Las Vegas 90, 67. Our sunrise this morning was at 6:50, and our sunset will be at 6:26. All right, stick around. We're going to take you on a tour of our Garden Center 1.
At Freedom Village Assisted Living, we provide loving care and support when your loved one needs it most. We believe in laughing more and caring more. Dining will be an experience, not just a meal. We offer opportunities to create new memories. Your family will feel like they are part of our family as we work toward creating an extraordinary difference in lives worth living. To schedule a tour and complimentary lunch and for more information, please call us at 949-340-8108 or visit our website, freedomvillage.org.
Christy Sakel, who is here with Village Management Services, who is our garden center specialist. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. I'm so excited.
I am really happy that you could host us here. We're at Garden Center 1 right now, and I have never been to either one of our centers.
Nice.
So can you tell me a little bit about both our centers and what they provide?
Both centers have tree plots and garden plots. So it's vegetable plots or the gardens, and then the tree plots have fruit trees or different kind of produce trees, but they have to be tree specific. So ultimately, each garden plot is around 200 square feet. So there's over 1,000 of them between the two garden centers, and we have a wait list. Everyone's interested, which is awesome.
I mean, that's great. Everybody does love to have a garden, especially because, our places here are smaller. They have just a small area. So, trying to grow certain types of things just is not going to happen.
Exactly.
So now what's the difference between Garden Center 1 and Garden Center 2?
First of all, Garden Center 1 was the original garden center created when Laguna Woods, I think, was even established. Mm-hmm. And after a while, I think we ended up with a lot of people who really wanted to garden. So what they did is they decided they were going to add Garden Center 2. Mm-hmm. And they actually planned it all out. What they did here is they had to come back because this was the first one and it was completely arranged differently. They were trying to make the 200 square feet for every garden. So you'll see at Garden Center 1, it's very eclectic, is how I like to say it. You're going to have corner plots and some just unusual shapes. And then they started with a shade house at one point in this particular garden center, and they took that down and they added more gardens because there was such a demand. So it was really kind of, this one to me is very eclectic, artsy, and you'll notice just, it's really kind of quaint. I really, really enjoy this one. The biggest difference that I point out to residents who want to be gardeners is the slant that it's on.
Right, I noticed we are on a slant right now.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and only because if we have a resident who has some mobility issues, we want to make sure that they're going to be comfortable.
Yeah, okay, all right, good. And the other The other one, which we'll visit in just a bit, is Garden Center 2, and that, I think you mentioned to me early on, is that it's a grid-like, so it doesn't
Yes.
have as many different spaces.
Yes, there's still some odd-shaped ones, but mostly it's very grid-like.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, perfect. So what I'd like to do is I would love to see some of the gardens that are here, and we can just sort of walk around and pick out some that,
Perfect.
I mean, some look very full and others are not. I know we're in the heat of summer here, so of course some have already, you know, dwindled away, but nonetheless, let's go find some good ones.
Yes,
All right,
let's go.
let's go. So, unusual gardens or tree plots. I know you mentioned that earlier. Tell me what a tree plot is.
The tree plots are meant to grow fruit-bearing trees,
Okay.
and each 200 square foot space can hold at least 3 trees, potentially 5.
Okay.
However, one of the things that all of the tree plots need to have is dwarf trees.
Ah.
Dwarf or semi-dwarf. Mostly what we're looking at, or I look at when a resident brings me what tree they want, I'm going to look up the tree itself and see the root system, because the root system is pretty much going to be as big as the canopy. So you want to make sure that, or I want to make sure that they're not going to end up with this beautiful tree that the roots are just going into their neighbors and then they have to take it down, which would be terrible.
And I did notice that there are some larger trees here. Are those
Yes.
ones that have been here for a really long time?
Yes. You're
Okay.
going to see there. I would love to show you. There's one avocado tree that's huge here that I'm sure has been here for 40 or more years.
Yeah. So at that point, maybe way back then, there weren't so many restrictions.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Correct. When they actually decided to make them 200 square feet each, that's when they had to actually do that division so that everyone would feel comfortable that they were getting that size, so that they knew how much space they had to work with.
Okay. All right. Now, when we first walked in here, there were lots of unique different types of plots, not necessarily trees, but lots of gardens, but gardens that felt like it was your backyard.
Yes. Yes.
So what are in some of those?
Oh gosh. Almost everyone does the basic fruits or vegetables. Some fruits are grown in the garden plots because, like vines, grapes, passion fruit you can grow in there. Any kind of hedge is usually in the actual garden plot. The tree plots are meant specifically for trees only. So one of the things that you'll find is we have in the tree plots, we have fig trees, we have avocado trees, some people have a peach tree, some have jujube. I think it's jujube. And gosh, I could name so many. Pomegranate, papayas. There's such a variety because we have a very diverse community.
Well, right.
So that makes it much more fun because we do have a lot of unusual plants that are used for medicinal purposes.
Oh, that's
so
true.
it's kind of fun to learn all that stuff.
Exactly. And then, we're in a region where, it's very breezy and beautiful right now, although this week's going to be hot. But some of these places do have some shade where they can grow some different kinds of things that are for shade and other things are for sun. And then I did remember we walked in through one little garden we passed that had a fountain in it. So it's like I said, it feels like their backyard.
Yes.
So people spend a lot of time here.
Yes, and if you think about it, it's the perfect place to relax.
Yeah.
Most gardeners do it because they love to see things grow and they love to get their hands in the dirt and it's just a relaxing place to sit. I mean, think about any time you were a kid and you were at a park or something, right? So yes, it actually gives them a lot of that, which is lovely.
I think it is actually therapeutic.
Yes, very. Very.
It's not bad. All right, let's take a look at that avocado tree that you mentioned.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to go to the avocado tree. All right, so we found the avocado tree that you had mentioned,
Yes.
and it is rather large, and you can certainly tell by how wide the base is.
Right.
So this is obviously something that's been here for a long time.
Yes, and I don't believe it's a dwarf or a semi-dwarf.
No, I don't
think
think
this
so either.
is just a regular avocado tree, and it's been here forever.
Yeah.
So it could be 30, 40 years old. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
However, it's gorgeous, and every season it produces so many avocados.
Oh, that is
so it's
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
So, and I think there was a farmer's market that you had not too long ago. How did that go?
That was the Garden Center Club that
Okay.
did that.
Okay.
And apparently, from what I understand, they actually made like $1,700 that they donated.
That is so great.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the Florence Sylvester Senior Center that was the recipient.
Exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, you mentioned earlier about the actual tree plots themselves, which we are now in the tree plot area. What are some restrictions with that?
Basically, nothing that is not a tree. There is a couple of trees that aren't, well, there's a couple of bushes that has been allowed to be planted in the tree plots, because those are actually, there's one that's a lemon. It's kind of a hybrid of some sort.
Okay.
And it's technically a bush, but you can shape it like a tree.
Oh.
So my director allowed it, but they have to shape it like a tree.
Okay.
So that was actually one of these.
Oh.
And I
okay.
don't know which one it is, to be honest, but this is a new gardener in this particular spot.
Okay. All right.
So,
Okay.
and then the avocado tree, all the other trees every tree has to be approved by the office, the garden center office.
Okay.
And again, like I said, I really am looking at the root system to make sure that it's not going to grow too big,
Right.
where we'd have to remove it, because
Okay.
we really don't want to remove trees.
No, that would be costly and take some time, and yeah, you don't
Well,
want
just-
that. Yeah. Okay.
Just the environment, I really
Yeah.
have a hard time with it sometimes.
Yeah, well,
but-
especially here on this hill too, would be
Yeah.
kind of a problem.
Yeah.
All right, good. So now what I'd love to do is maybe let's pick out a couple of beautiful gardens that really show a lot of flowers or vegetables or something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Let's go
Thank
find
you.
them. We found Josephina's garden plot, and Christy's going to tell us all about it. So tell me, what is in her area?
So Josephina strictly does flowers, and just a couple of months ago it was beautiful. I mean, it's still beautiful, but with all the blooms, and it was just gorgeous. This is actually 4 garden plots that 3 different gardeners are sharing the space. So actually they're each paying for their own gardens. However, the garden area itself has not been divided. So they get along great, which is awesome. And one section does more vegetables. Josephina actually does more floral. That's pretty much everything on this side. So it just kind of depends. You'll see vines back there and back there. So a lot of what's really nice about this particular garden is that everyone gets along really well, and they take really good care of it. So Josephina has been here for years, part of the community, and she's had a garden from the beginning. So ultimately, when the policy changed in 2016, all of the gardeners who had multiple gardens, more than 2 each, they were asked to release all but 2 of each, so they could keep 2 garden plots and they could keep 2 tree plots. So she ended up with 2 garden plots here, and the other 2 gardens got released to someone else. So we were able to give someone from the wait list a garden, so they had the opportunity.
Okay.
So yeah,
All
it's
right.
wonderful.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for showing us around the Garden Center 1, which has beautiful plots. But now we're going to go to Garden Center 2 to learn a little bit more about what it has, and then we'll also talk about how to get your own garden.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
So stick around. We've got more programming from Village Television coming right up. welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Rabbi Joe Mendelson, who is here on behalf of the Reformed Temple of Laguna Woods. Well, welcome. So nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I love it. And you know, there's a lot to cover, but of course, we have one very special event that's going to be happening, and we'll get to that in just a bit. You know, before I get into some of these things, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Been living here for about 10 years. We sat in the back of the synagogue for most of the time, which is in Clubhouse 1, so I should say back of the clubhouse. And then when Rabbi came and retired, I offered to help them in the search for the new rabbi, and the decision was that they wanted me. And
see what happens when you volunteer.
Yeah. Well, you can't say no to your friends.
Exactly.
And that's one of the great things about this temple. We're friends as well as congregants in a religious organization.
Right.
And it's warm, it's welcoming, it feels great.
Right. And you have a lot of people who help. You know, you have a lot of volunteers who put things together for you, so hopefully that makes it easier.
Almost all volunteers.
Yeah. Oh, good.
There are only 3 of us that are professional.
Wow. Well, that's good. And I talked to a lot of the ladies, and haven't talked to too many of the men, but mostly the ladies. So I think that's awesome. Okay, we've got a couple of things that are coming up. So we've got Shabbat services on Friday.
Yes. And Shabbat services also celebrate holidays. Any of our holidays seem to be celebrated on Friday, except for the high holy days that we're in right now.
Okay.
And then Passover, we have our second Seder on the actual day.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll include the holiday on Friday nights.
Okay.
Our Friday nights are in Clubhouse 1, start at 7:30 in the evening. We have what's called an Oneg Shabbat, or what would be termed in other religions a collation, you know, food and relaxation after the service.
Okay.
And anyone is welcome to join us for services and see what we do. We just ask that everyone show proof of vaccination. Masks are still optional.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Now, you've got a holiday of, how do you say, is it Sukkot?
Sukkot.
Sukkot.
Sukkot is known as the Feast of Booths.
Okay.
In the Bible. And Sukkot is the plural for Sukkah, which is a booth.
Okay.
And I have to be careful to say booths and
not
booths.
Not booths.
Right.
Booths. Yes. Okay. So what is the booths?
The booth is a temporary structure.
Okay.
Traditionally representing what happened as we went through the desert. There would be the how did you live as you were going through.
Okay.
So you have that. Then you also have the more modern idea of the fragility of life, that this is a temporary structure, just like our lives are temporary.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Now
So we're going to celebrate that on the 14th,
Right.
which is a Friday night Shabbat service.
Okay. Got it. Perfect. And that's the same time frame as the other one, 7:30 in the evening. So,
right.
All right, excellent. Then you've got, well, of course, we've got our book club.
Right.
So let's come back to book club. Let's go to, there's another Friday evening in October 21st, which is the big time.
Right. This is Simchat Torah. It follows the last day of Sukkot. It's kind of connected. And Simchat Torah is special because at that point you are actually finishing the reading of the Torah. And you know, when you have a book, when you finish, you put it down. You never put down the Torah. You always want to finish and begin at the same time.
Okay.
So if you look up on the screen there, you see the Torah as it's dressed on the left, and then on the right you see the actual words of the beginning of the book of the Bible.
Okay.
Bereshit bara Elohim, and in the beginning God created the world. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was unformed and void and so on. So you see it in Hebrew there. And as actually, I will be reading from the Torah on Simchat Torah.
Okay.
This is an annual celebration. Now, what makes this particular Simchat Torah so special is the Torah that you see there and one other were actually restored.
Right.
In Hebrew, we call it kashered, which means made appropriate. So now every word is clear, every letter is clear, no smudges and so on. And in order to celebrate that restoration, We're going to have a special dedication to the congregation. We're going to be thanking the foundation for their help and letting us do this, and do a lot of things just to celebrate the end of the reading, the beginning of the reading, and having these two beautiful Torahs for us to use.
Well, and it took about a year. I'd been talking to Beverly and Muriel, and they were telling me that it was in process, and some people even got to be close to the person that was doing it, and they got to see it, which was very exciting to everyone.
Yes, we had a scribe come in 3 times and publicly repair the Torah, filling in letters, and you would actually put your hand on his as he was doing that.
Yeah, that is neat.
And our third one, we invited the whole community in.
Oh,
and
did
it was
you?
such a pleasure having so many visitors come and see what we do.
Well, exactly. And you know what, let's go back to the picture of the Torah, the one on the left. So what is hanging on it?
Okay, you have a breastplate, which is reminiscent of what the priests wore during the biblical times.
Okay.
On the right, hanging down just below, you can just see the tip of the fingers of the yad, the hand. And we use that to point. Okay. The cloak, of course, represents what the priests wore. And there's even a belt inside holding the Torah together.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You know. And so what you see here is symbolic. I think the most important thing to remember is this is not prayed to, but it's used. We always read from the Torah because we want to get the messages.
Right.
Yes, it's holy. Yes, it's important, but it's symbolic.
Right.
But the words inside, these are the 5 books of Moses, the first part of the Bible that is important to so many communities.
So every time you get together, you read something from the Torah, correct?
We, at the Reform Temple, will read it once a month.
Okay.
Some synagogues will do it every weekend. Some will even do it during the week as well.
So on the nights that you're not reading from it, what do you discuss?
We still have our prayers. And then when I do my sermon, I usually refer to what's in the Torah portion of the week.
Okay.
And what we discuss is basically the message that we got from the Torah initially, which is, how do you be a community? What is it to take care of each other? What is it to have, what values do you need to have a cohesive community? And how to be positive influence in the community. How do you contribute to the community?
Right.
You have that relationship of self and community that you really need.
Yeah.
So that's what we constantly reinforce.
Exactly. Well, that's a good thing because, as you can see, we're having some troubles in our lives these days, and we're trying to find a nice cohesive path. So that's good that you give that message. One last thing. You guys have a book club.
Yes.
Let's talk about the book club. I know Beverly would be remiss if you didn't talk about the book club.
And there's one other thing we need to talk about as well.
Oh,
That's
good. Okay.
Connections.
So we'll do that next. So let's do the book club first.
Okay, the book club is held, let's see, it's every one Tuesday a month. And this week, this time they're reading My Promised Land by Ari Shavit. It's held in the recreation room of 2404 Via Mariposa West. My wife hosts it down in the rec room.
Okay.
But Harriet Schwartz is the person to call if there are any questions.
All right, perfect.
And her number's 949-454-9211. You see it right there on the screen.
Perfect. Then one last thing you wanted to mention is Connections, and it's a new committee.
It's a new committee that's been formed within the temple. The idea is we have so many people that are at home and really can't get to the temple. And we feel it's very important as a community to reach out to these people. How are they doing? Is there anything we can do to help them? Just keeping in touch and making, even though you're not there physically, you're still part of the community.
Right.
So one of our members, Sharon Waltz, who lives in the Towers, is actually heading that group. She's just a delightful person. And her phone number is 949-581-7240.
Perfect. Well, you did a great job. We appreciate all the information. Congratulations on getting the Torah finished. That's That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
The restoration.
And, you know, as I said earlier, anyone who is interested in finding out more about what we do, enjoying us on a Friday night, please join us. We'd love to have you.
Perfect. Thank you again.
Thank you.
If you want more information about what we've just discussed or would like to know when services are, you can go to the Laguna Woods Village website. That's lagunawoodsvillage.com and type in search Reform Temple, and that'll bring you right to them. We'll be right back.
The California Attorney General, Ron Bonta, issued a consumer alert on hearing aids sold over the counter or online. Quote, while hearing aids sold online or over the counter may appear to be more cost effective than traditional hearing aids, they may not properly address your particular hearing loss needs, or they may be outright scams. He goes on to say, get checked by a licensed hearing professional and beware of misleading claims. Call Advanced Ear Care today for answers on over-the-counter hearing aids and options. Tell them Stuart sent you.
Our Saturday movie for today is action-packed, and it's a thriller and kind of a space-age movie. It's called The Tomorrow War, and it stars Chris Pratt. And like I mentioned, it's when the world is stunned by a group of time travelers that arrive from the year 2051 to deliver a very urgent message. You can check that out today at 2 p.m. with subtitles, 6 p.m. without, brought to you by Hogue. And then on Monday, we have a fun movie. It's called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And you can check that out at 2 p.m. with subtitles, 6 p.m. without subtitles. And that is brought to you by Memorial Care. So you can check that out on Monday. Okay, just a couple of announcements. The flu shot clinic is upon us. It is happening on Wednesday, October 12th from 1 to 3 p.m. and it's only going to be as supplies last, so you're going to want to get in line early. If you want more info, get information at myedgewell.org. Okay, take a look at our weather. Lovely weekend. We are in the 80s this weekend, so it should be nice and pleasant, so make sure you get outside. We're looking at 80, 65, 80, 65, and 79, 64. If you're traveling, the beaches look great in the low 70s. And then if you're going to the mountains, they're all in the low 70s as well, high 60s. Palm Springs 94 and Vegas 90. Enjoy the outdoors this weekend. All right, have a lovely rest of your weekend. We will see you again right here on Monday morning at 9 a.m. If you missed any of our programming, you can always go to our YouTube channel, Village Television, and type in ThisDay or any program that we air here on Village Television. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.